Hi guys, I'm Trudy. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Now today I want to do a video based on a comment I received from my last video about wanting to pursue OTA versus LPN. So the topic of this video is going to be about whether you should pursue a career in LPN or as an OTA. Also guys, please remember to subscribe to my channel and click the bell so you get notified every time I post a new video. I post a new video every Sunday. Now let's get into the video. So this video is based on a comment I received from my last video about a young lady wanting to pursue OTA or LPN. Now, while both fields are in healthcare, there is a difference between whether you should pursue LPN or OTA. Now let me say both LPN and OTA, they're pretty good career field. But OTA might be more suitable for some people, whereas LPN might be more suitable for others. Now, obviously, there are differences. So some of the topic that I want to touch on is in terms of education. So to be an LPN, you need a certificate. So it depends on where you go to school, but the certificate can range from 10 months to like a year and a half. Whereas for OTA, it's an associate's degree. And depending on where you attend school, it might take you 2 years or 2.5 years. Now let me say, you can do both OTA and LPN at a community college, which is the ideal place. It's also cheaper, but guess what? It's gonna take you longer. Why? Because community college are usually cheaper. There usually is a long wait list. And I attended LaGuardia and they had both the LPN and the OTA program. And typically what they do is you have 2 chances of applying for candidacy. So let's say you apply for the spring of 2022 and you didn't get accepted. You have 1 more chance to apply. So if you applied again and you didn't get accepted, you have to go to a different school. So a lot of people might choose to pursue their LPN or their OTA at a private institution because there's usually no wait list. It's more expensive, but you gotta weigh the wait time versus just pay your money and get it over with. So as I said, in terms of education, the OTA is gonna be longer. Now let's talk about salary. A lot of times people say, oh, you shouldn't only think about the money, blah blah blah. But guess what? Money is an integral part of society. Everything requires money. If you're gonna pursue a college degree or certification, you have to think about the money aspect, because no school is free. They're not going to give you the degree or the certificate for free. You have to pay for it. So it's only fair that you made the initial investment. You're going to want a return on your investment. So in terms of salary, I would say starting out as an OTA, you typically are going to make more than an LPN to start out. But then again, are you really making more? Because a lot of the OTA positions usually don't have benefits. So if you're really factoring the benefits and stuff, are you really making more money as an OTA? But just keeping it to say, what you're going to be offered per hour. Typically, you're going to be offered more as an OTA versus as an LPN. However, for the lifetime of your career, if you do decide you just want to be an OTA, nothing wrong. Or if you just decide you want to be an LPN, nothing wrong. Over the lifetime of your career, you will make more as an LPN versus as an OTA. Because this is something it's just a sad reality of OTA is you enter the field with a specific salary or hourly rate. It's not going to go up much throughout the course of your career. Because majority of the jobs are through agencies. And they typically have a rate that they offer new people to that agency. So a lot of times when you have 10 years experience or 10 months experience or 10 days experience, they usually have sort of like an introductory rate that you're paid. Whereas for LPN, they put a little more respect, to be quite frank, on your experience. So if you're a new grad, you're not going to expect to make the same as somebody, let's say, have 10 years experience. Whereas the OTA, you can typically expect to make the same amount. That's just the nature of the beast. Something else I have to say is that benefits. OTs and OTAs typically, well, you know what, let me just stick with OTA because this video is about OTA versus LPN. OTAs for the most part usually don't get good, the good benefits, whereas the LPNs, they have the union, and if you can get a union position, don't give that up. So in terms of benefit, LPN has a little edge over OTA because, as I said, LPN is a position where a lot of times, the facilities, they're unionized. Now, a lot of time, people will say that if you're an LPN, you're going to be stuck in a nursing home. But guess what? That's the truth. Majority of the jobs are in nursing homes. And as an OTA, it's also true. Majority of the jobs for OTAs are also in nursing homes. And I know a lot of times, nursing homes get a bad rap, but nursing home is not as bad as people make it seem. So there's nothing wrong in, spending your career in a nursing home as either an LPN or an OTA. I feel like this one is a tie. Whether you do LPN or OTA, for the most part, your career is going to be in a nursing home. Of course, as an OTA, you can do home care or early intervention. As an LPN, you can also do home care. So I feel like in terms of flexibility in the areas you can work, I would say OTA probably have a little bit more edge because you can work in school, you can work in home care, early intervention. You can work in hospitals also, where, hospital jobs are not as abundant, but for the most part, in terms of LPNs, I know like it's very rare you'll see an LPN in a hospital unless they've been working there for years. But as a new grad LPN, you can expect to find a job in a nursing home. And as I said, nursing home is not as horrible as people make it to seem. And I want to talk about stress level also. I know that this is very subjective, but I feel like LPNs have a lot more responsibility versus OTA, because LPNs and CNAs are pretty much the backbones of nursing homes. Don't get me wrong, everybody plays a part, or every department plays a part in ensuring that the facility, runs well, the residents are taken care of. But for the most part, the LPN is going to be the one that have a lot of responsibilities. Not as much as the RN. The LPNs are the one, giving medication, they're up and on the floor, you're going to be on your foot a lot. Whereas as the OTA, yes, you're under the supervision of an OTR, but I think that the stress level is a little bit different, and there's also less responsibilities for OTA versus LPN. So that's something you should take into consideration. And let's talk about, job security. Of course, we can argue that there really is no such thing as job security. But in terms of, sustaining employment or gainful employment, I would say LPN have an edge. Especially now there's a nurse shortage. LPNs, you more than likely will have an easier time finding a job than an OTA. Because a lot of times, if there's changes to healthcare or, changes to reimbursement, some OTAs are going to be cut. That's just the nature of the beast. Like, some are going to be cut. You're going to be, looking for a job. And, it all depends on which state you live in. Yes, New York, have a pretty decent, job market for OTAs. But that's not the case for everywhere. Whereas I feel like as an LPN, I think it's safe to say that wherever you are now, it's going to be a lot easier to find a job as an LPN versus as an OTA. And one more thing to note too is that LPN jobs are typically unionized jobs. And let me tell you, if you work at a facility that has a union, try to get in the union because you won't get fired as easily. And as I'm getting older, I'm really beginning to appreciate or understand the significance of unions in these companies, because it's really not fair the way sometimes these big corporations treat their staff. And not to go off topic, but I don't know if you guys read the book Rich Dad Poor Dad, but if you read Rich Dad Poor Dad, he gave the what's his name, Robert Kiyosaki, I hope I pronounce his name properly, he gave the impression that, oh my gosh, you gotta keep unions out of your corporations and you're this horrible. But you have to look at you gotta look at it on both sides. If you're an employer versus an employee, and I'm an employee, and if you're going to be working as an LPN or OTA, you're probably going to be an employee also. So if you can get a union position, even as an OTA also, even though those jobs are few, if you can get a union position, it's going to be so much better. Because working in this pandemic, and I know a lot of times people who didn't work in the pandemic, they can have their opinion and they think, oh, it's a hoax and whatever. Just, if you didn't work through the pandemic, if you don't understand what's going on with COVID, like, just keep your opinion. But the LPNs, the OTAs, the CNAs, those were the ones on the front line really doing the work. A lot of these, higher management people, they weren't even in the facility. They were working from home because when COVID broke out, everybody was scared. But the lower level employees did not have that luxury to work from home or, to Skype meeting or whatever. But now, when everything is kind of, cooling down, there's a vaccine, all of a sudden they don't want to give the union members, their raise. So I would say, not to go off tangent, but if you are working at a facility that has a union, try to get into the union. And as you can see, I feel like LPNs have a lot more edge than OTA. However, LPN job is not for the faint of heart. It's not for everybody. It's a nursing position. You're gonna have a lot more responsibilities. You're gonna do more clinical stuff, like giving injection, monitoring the patients, vitals. I'm not saying as an OTA you won't do that, but your job is more, like more physical in terms of, transfer and ensuring that they can, get back to their independence in terms of their ADLs. Oh, and one more thing too, I have to add. I forgot to add this. And also in terms of the physical part of the job, as an LPN, you will be on your feet a lot longer than an OTA. However, as an OTA, you will be doing a lot more lifting than the LPN. And something that I have to say is that I see more older LPNs in these facilities than I see more older OTAs. I don't know why, if they change career by the time they get older, but in all fairness, I see a lot more older, like people like in their late 50s, 60s. No. And when I say older, I mean, people that are approaching retirement, like in their 60s. I see older LPNs than I do see older OTAs, because I know that OTA, it can take a toll on your body physically, because as I said, it's a very physical job. Whereas as a LPN, it's physical too, but you're more on your feet for a longer period of time. And if you want to go back to school, for both, you can, advance your career. Both OTAs and LPNs can do that. Which is the cheaper route? Of course, LPN is cheaper because for the most part, you're going to spend 1 to 2 years. And there are so much different LPN programs. You can do a LPN to RN bridge online. You can do like an even program. There's just so much more option to continue your career as an LPN versus as an OTA. And also as an LPN, it's cheaper. Most OT programs, guys, are very expensive. So, you have to take that into consideration also. And yes, you might not decide to go back to school when you do the math to see how much you're going to be spending for school versus how much you're going to be making. It might not be, or rather, it might not make sense to go back, but I just want to put it out there that if you're OTA and you want to go back, you can go back. You can do the bridge program. And another thing too, there's not that much bridge programs. So I just wanted to get that out there. So if you are both an OTA or LPN, you can advance your career. Now, which one do I recommend? I don't recommend one over the other. It just depends on what you're looking for. But I will be honest and say you're going to have way more option as an LPN versus as an OTA. And I mentioned this in the last video, is that they're planning on doing a 20% cut if an OTA provides services. So, you should take that into consideration. And like I said, every time there's some cut to Medicare or Medicaid, as an OTA, it's going to affect your job. it is going to affect your job. That's just the sad reality. Every time there's some reimbursement cuts, it's going to affect your job. And yes, in 2019 they rolled out PDPM, and what a lot of these greedy corporations were doing is they were using techs to replace OTAs. So if a facility usually use say 4 OTAs during PDPM, what they would get rid of 1 OTA and replace that OTA with a tech. So you know, that's just, like I said, the nature of the beast. Whereas as an LPN, they can't do that crap. They can't replace an LPN with a CNA or anything like that. You have to be somebody who's, you know, skilled and trained. So that's something else, you know, you have to look into. So as I said, I'm not recommending one over the other, but you have to be practical and see what's going to make more sense to you. And like I said, starting out as an OTA, you're going to be offered more than a LPN. But over the course of your career, you will make more as an LPN than as an OTA, because as I said, your years of experience is respected more as an LPN versus as an OTA. So take that into consideration. Both fields can be as great as ever, and both fields can be as stressful as ever. So I'm not recommending one over the other, but I will tell you that in terms of job security and income potential, over the long term, LPN has a little more advantage over OTA. And another thing too is like the hours. I don't know, if you're an early person, you will appreciate LPN so much more, because the shift difference is that you can easily do a second job as a LPN versus as a OTA. So as I said, there's so much little different parts that in terms of like stress levels, to me, based on what I see, the LPNs always look more stressed out than the OTAs. As I said, LPNs have way more responsibilities than OTAs. So, you know, that's something for you to consider. So I hope this video was helpful. I hope it will help you to make an informed decision as to which one you want to pursue. As I said, both fields can be a wonderful field, and both fields can also be horrible. So, you know, it all depends. Okay, guys, that's it for this video. Thanks so much for watching. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And please, guys, share this video with someone who you think it might help. Also, click the notification bell so you get notified every time I post a new video. I post a new video every Sunday. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye, guys.